Okay, in this tutorial we're going to show you how to create nicely laid out headers and paragraphs that look like this, which looks professional. A few things to notice: our headers here use one font, in this case a simple sans serif. Our body text typically is in a serif font. Notice the first paragraphs after headers are not indented. Subsequent paragraphs are indented, and they're only indented a small amount, about the width of 1 to 2 capital M's. That's what our target is. We're going to move back through history here, and I'm going to show you what a typical student document looks like. Oops, too far back. Try this again. Almost there. Alright, good enough. Oops, that didn't work. We'll just hit Z. There we go. Way, way, way. Alright, so here is our normal starting point. The student has a default font. They've used tabs to do their indentation, and the headers are underlined and a little bit bigger. So 16-point header, 12-point headers here. So this is typically what a student's document would look like. Oh, one more change, sorry. Let's go back a little bit more. And the spacing looks like that. So here we are at what our students often do. Notice the header is floating equidistant between the text, and that's because LucidPress by default puts 6 points spacing after every single paragraph, which if you're indenting isn't what you want to do. So first thing I'm going to do is select everything. I'm going to get rid of those 6 points of spacing. Beautiful. Now the paragraphs are all much closer together. I want the space before the header, so I'll grab the paragraph before the header, and I'll put, let's go ahead and put all 12 points there. Now we've created space before the paragraph, which is nice. Notice how the underlining looks pretty messy. So we're going to get rid of the underlining right away. Simple enough. All right. Oops, one more to get rid of. Oh, we got to turn spell check back off. The spell check is off. Okay, beautiful. Next thing to notice here is that in order to increase contrast, I want to create a different body font than I'm using for my headers. So typically bodies in serif is pretty normal, so I'm going to go with a serif font for my body, and a sans serif like Aller for my header is just fine. So oops, the same serif for all of them. Now it's starting to look different. Now if I want the headers to stand out more, I can use weight. I can put them in bold. I can use slant. I can put it in italics. I can also use the font size, can be much more dramatically different. And I could use color as well. Let's go ahead and make that gray. Beautiful. It starts to stand out. Next thing to fix is my indentation. This is a typical student indent. They've just hit the tab character, so I'm just going to hit backspace to get rid of it. There we go. Now, a good paragraph indentation should be 1 to 2 M. You'll notice a tab is far more than that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use under tabs and indents here, the first line indent. And I find 12 points is a good amount to indent. Let's see here. Oopsie daisies. It's being touchy. There we go, 12 point. Lovely. You'll see that's right between 1 and 2M. Looks pretty good. You could also do 9, I think, is the default they give you as a unit. 9 is a fine amount to indent too, if you want to do that. So let's zoom back out. We can get rid of all these extra indentations. And we can replace them with a simple intentional, oopsie daisies, 9 point. Well, the other way, once you've got one that's working, for some reason it's a little touchy, there we go. You can just hit backspace and return and it'll apply that formatting to the next paragraph. So that works pretty well. Alright, there we go. Now we have simple enough subtle indentation, much more clean alignment. Notice there's not nearly so much white space. So it looks like I accidentally got rid of the extra space before my header, so I'm going to put that space back. 12 points there. 12 points there. I want space before the header, not after the header. Alright, we're now looking pretty darn good. The last thing I'm going to do is take this header. If this is the header for both columns of content, it's typical for it to span both columns. So I can go ahead and make it in a separate text box so that it can do that. And if I wanted to, I could go ahead and keep getting bigger. We'll notice now there's a ton of room there. Now if you wanted to make an underline, underline's probably the wrong way to create that line. You've got a lot more options. You could create a box